Shut up and sit down.
Welcome once again to the Shite podcast show. Mark and Ken with you on episode 199 of the Shite podcast show, and we still can't do an intro.
It's because our intro is different every week. Sometimes you pause, sometimes you don't pause.
Yeah, I know.
Every week it's different. It keeps it mixed up.
Yeah, do you know what? I fucked up that time.
Well, you know what? It's better to get the fuck up out of the way at the start than to be waiting for it.
Yeah, exactly. At least, well, they do say bad things happen in trees, so we're probably going to fuck it up another 2 times. So, you know, we got the first one out of the way. At least that.
Why break the habit of a lifetime?
Yeah, exactly. People say you get better over time, or proves that that's bullshit.
Yeah, it's nonsense.
Sometimes you just plateau.
Those people that say you get better over time, they've never achieved anything.
Stupid Michael Phelps.
Yeah, Michael Phelps. Who's Michael Phelps?
And the thing about podcasting, you can't performance enhance on podcasting.
Well, you could.
How do you performance enhance on podcast?
Take a heap of cocaine and get all your words out in 10 seconds.
I don't know if that's great to listen to though.
Make it more interesting to listen to at half speed.
I wonder if our listeners still listen to us at half speed.
Yes.
Yes, still.
Yeah.
Oh, they work in an office place now. Their co-workers are very understanding.
Working from home.
All right. So that, yeah, I guess it has some advantages. But imagine if you're giving someone a lift in your car, and you might have a podcast on, you don't want to turn it off, so you're like, oh, do you mind if I listen to this in my car? And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. What is it? Oh, just these guys I know, they have a podcast. And they're like, all right, cool. I was like 0.5% speed. Well, we are talking about... I was like, what's wrong with you?
It would be that would be fierce funny though.
Yeah,
I might get into somebody's car and it's like.
We're like the podcast the same way people watch porn. It's like you do it in private and you don't tell anybody that you actually watch it or listen to us. That we're the podcast equivalent of porn.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Forgetting the name out there is probably not the best thing in the world, would it be?
Now you've got people just taking their pants off listening to podcasts now.
With their dick in their hands. Let yous entertain me. Well, a few of the stories we have today are a bit saucy.
This could be just what they're looking for.
It involves genitalia.
Of course it does.
Nudity. Burying people. So death. Necrophilia and all that. Got an old guy. So if you're into the older gents, the silver foxes. We have a guy talking about that. And we also have an absolute legend.
We always have an absolute legend.
We possibly have some fake news.
Fake news is a big one this week.
Yeah, so so we're not too sure if this story is real or not. And so we're just going to leave it out to our listeners. And I kind of feel like most of our listeners, most of the stories they question if they actually are legitimate.
Anyway.
Yeah, if you hear something off the radio or you see an article and you read it, you might tell somebody, oh yeah, well I read this or heard this about this thing. If they hear off this podcast, unless they forget where they hear it, they don't tell it. People go, oh, I heard it off the Shite Talk podcast show. Yes. See, that's your first part. You're getting your information from those knob ends.
That's your problem right there.
Yeah, that's your first mistake. And generally they'd be right.
Yeah, usually I'd agree with that.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about a woman getting a letter off a furious neighbour. We're also talking about a story involving a snake and a man's genitalia. And I'm going to let our listeners guess where that is. We're not going to say it. We probably don't have to say it. It's quite obvious where anything involving a snake is definitely only one country that will spring to mind. And people there get pissed off when people associate deadly animals and their country.
Do they?
Yeah, if you mentioned them, they're fucking. They're like, oh, that's exactly what they say.
That's the way they speak.
That's the way they speak. And yeah, then we have some possible fake news, and then we have, like I said, an Irish bartender is our legend of the week this week for doing a really sound thing. We'll also be talking about other kind of like stories we have growing up in Ireland about why Ireland has the best bartenders in the world. We don't grow great soccer players. We don't have the smartest people in the world. We don't have the best drivers. We don't really attribute a lot to society on the international stage. But let me tell you, we have the finest bartenders that you will ever see. And this story from this week proves that.
I can't wait for this story now. This story has me intrigued.
This started off mildly curious to now you're very, very interested.
Yeah, I'm intrigued in this one now.
You're going to have to wait because it's at the end of the story. And we're going to be talking about a story that we were going to cover last week. And it's about not needing a permit to bury someone in England. And I'm not too sure. Like last week, you said this possibly could have been an idiot of the week.
Did I?
Maybe. I don't know. Could have been idiot adjacent.
It could have been idiot adjacent, maybe.
Yeah. So what is? Go on.
So like in England, I know it's happened here. Do you remember a few years ago a guy wanted to bury himself on his own farmland, and the council and stuff were like, no, you can't do that.
No. This must have been a big story in Offaly. This must have been like.
This is like a guy in fucking, where was he? I don't know. He was like in Mayo or somewhere. He's like, the land's been in my family's possession for fucking 7 million years, and I love my land and all this shite, and he wanted to be buried on it, and the council were like, nope, can't do that. You can't be buried in a fucking farmland. Go away the fuck.
Why can't you though? Like graveyards, they used to be like a mint premium anyway.
Yeah, he brought it to court and stuff, and they were like, "No, there's no reason. Like, there's nothing in like planning laws or anything to say you can't be buried." So he got buried on his farmland. But in the UK, there's actually like, it's easier to do in England and Wales. It's a bit harder to do in Scotland. Apparently, there's more rules around it. But in England, you just need to basically tell the government that you're dead.
Pretty hard when you're dead, though.
Or that whoever, like, tell them that you're whatever your uncle has
you have to fill out the death certificate yourself before you die. Just before you die, fill out your death certificate. Then you can die in Ireland.
You have to tell some cunt that you died.
My friend, when I was in school, nearly did that accidentally. So
died?
No, fill out a death certificate. So in Ireland, you have to do everything in the tax office. So this is good few years ago. Everything got done in the tax office, and the tax office, being working there was the most stressful job. One, because they were slow cunts, and the place was always at 99.9% capacity all the time, with a lot of disgruntled people waiting for ages. But they used to have like pieces of paper, forms to fill out. And one would be your death certificate, the other would be your passport renewal, and the other would be for like your provisional permit or your driver license to fill out. So if you're not paying attention, could be filled, and generally they have the same details, your date of birth, other than when you died.
They're even the same colour.
Yeah, they're even the same colour. So like, I think he was halfway through filling out his death certificate when he was trying to renew his passport, and like he only realised, like near the end, but he said, I could have nearly legally declared myself dead. Be kind of odd if you were the one that handed in that death certificate to the person in the tax office and they didn't question it at all. So you're Mick whatever. Yep.
So you're dead now? So
you realise this is declaring you dead. Like, I'll take your money, but you can't declare yourself dead.
So anyway,
this is a little side step. This is an anecdote.
Yeah, so you have to notify whoever the fuck that you're whatever, your uncle's dead. And then the Environmental Protection Agency will come out and assess where you want to bury them. So they just have to be buried 30 meters away from any source of running water, 10 meters away from any drain or ditch, 50 meters away from a well or any sort of a spring that supplies water for human use. And then the grave has to, when it's dug, there has to be no water in it whatsoever. And there has to be 3 feet of soil placed below and above the body after burial.
Only 3 feet?
Yeah, so you only need 1 meter of soil above and below the body.
1 meter's nothing.
Yeah.
Why have you cremated it and then planted a tree there? Because that's my idea.
Then you don't even need permission probably to do it.
No, well, I imagine, yeah, because imagine you'd have to notify them what your intentions are. But I still think that's a genius idea. It'll go nowhere because I have no ambition to bring it to any relative authority to say, what about we do this? But I just think it's a good idea.
Yeah, there you go. So
yeah.
You don't need any permission or anything to do it.
My previous idea around what way I thought was cool to actually be buried or to have a ceremony when you die was a Viking burial. So where you get pushed out in a boat and
burnt.
And someone shoot an arrow. I was watching Game of Thrones at the time, and I thought it was definitely a great business. You could definitely set up a business where you had a burnable and reusable boat that would that would burn people. And then I was I looked into it a bit more, and apparently Vikings didn't actually do that. That's just made something up by fiction. 2, it would never burn hot enough to actually cremate a human body. So you just get kind of a scorched, still live human body in the oceans polluting the water. Yeah, and it would probably never be allowed because of all the chemicals that would need to keep a fire going into the water. So it would definitely not be allowed by any relative authorities. So yeah, so that's the end of that kind of Viking burial thing. So now I just want to be planted it as a tree.
Planted as a tree.
Yeah, reincarnation basically.
Yeah, that could work.
Well, technically, obviously, your conscience wouldn't. You're dead, so your conscience is not going to be in the tree or anything like that. But the tree probably would absorb some of the nutrients from the ash that's you were cremated in, and that would go into the tree. So technically, live on through the tree. Sort of. Depends what you call you. So you just live as a tree.
How Harry became a tree. Did you ever see that movie?
No. Did I have superheroes and or dinosaurs?
I just had a man becoming a tree.
Then I have no interest. No interest in a story about a man becoming a tree.
Couldn't care about it.
Yeah, didn't have a where's the explosion, bro? All my movies have to have now dinosaurs and or superheroes.
Or explosions.
Explosions, yeah, that'll do as well. Or Michael Fassbender.
Oh, Michael Fassbender. Oh, no. Where are you going, Michael Fassbender?
Or Leonardo da Vinci. Not Da Vinci, DiCaprio.
Leonardo da Vinci?
Yeah, I just love the movies about painters that are went
all
off with
all Mark's movies have Leonardo da Vinci paintings in the background.
That'd be a good little kind of, what do you call Easter egg to have in movies?
An Easter egg.
Well, aren't they say we have little kind of hidden clues in movies that super fans find or.
Yeah, just Easter eggs.
Yeah. What Disney movies have reference to their next movie that's coming out in all their movies.
Yeah, there's loads of movies to it.
Yeah, Simpsons purposely put in flaws into their cartoons.
To see if people are noticed.
Yeah, well, animators are very good at noticing it. And I actually did a year as an animator. or I did it as like in college for a year, and your man was telling us about like different kind of movies where, and like he said like he couldn't actually watch certain movies because you're like, oh, that's wrong, that shouldn't be there. He'd be noticing like little flaws, and if you just bring it up to his wife, reckon his wife said. And I started then looking out for in Simpsons all these mistakes, and there's so many of them. Okay. So like if you watch early seasons and you watch the opening kind of credits, you know, the Simpsons thing.
Yeah.
The door changes several times. It goes from orange to brown. And then there's times where they're on the couch and there's a picture of a boat. Sometimes that picture's there. Sometimes it's missing a sail. Sometimes it's missing a little red dot. The best one is like Mr. Burns in the cave. I think they have money or they're looking for something. And Mr. Burns comes in. If you look at Mr. Burns' shadow, his shadow changes to a devil. The devil takes out a yo-yo and starts playing with the yo-yo.
Yeah.
So it's like little things like that. They're pretty cool.
I know a guy who used to this is a mental career change, right? He worked on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Remember the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon from the 80s and 90s?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a guy who worked as an animator on that. And he's now a farmer.
What?
Yeah.
Did his family come from a farming background?
I'm not too sure about that, but like the Turtles put him off animation altogether. It got too popular and he got fucked off with it.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember like coming up near the end of like college, they bring in animators and they talk about animation and what you need to be an animator and what's like being an animator, and you could get like, and they bring in other kind of people who are successful artists in, and they kind of just basically give you an idea of what you need to be doing and kind of inspire you. I think it's the idea. And I went into that wanting to be an animator. I left it not wanting to be an animator. Like, your man was the most boring guy in human history, and I was like, I never want to be that guy. I never ever want to be that guy. And I was like, I don't think animation's for me. And I was going to do the next course anyway. I'm here now kind of a thing, but like, your man turned me off it. I kind of wanted to do illustration then after that, because same thing, your man seemed so cool. He was just like the coolest guy. Came in, all he did was like go get coffees in the morning and draw in the sketchbook, and I was like, oh, that's your career. You drink coffee?
That's the job for me.
I was like, you drink coffee in cafes and draw? I was like, yeah.
Where's the downside?
Yeah, no. Oh, you don't get paid sometimes? Oh, that's the downside. And money can be a bit scarce. Ooh. Yeah. No, it didn't seem like the most safest career, though.
How do you pay for your coffee?
Exactly. He robs coffee. His wife pays for his coffee. Yeah, so like, yeah, then I was like, oh, maybe I'll just keep art as a hobby. Maybe it's not the best thing to have as a career. I don't know how we got on talking about this from needing a certificate to bury somebody alive.
How do we ever get on to talk about anything, Mark?
Yeah, I don't even know how to end up, but like, okay, well, better move on to something else. We'll move on to dating. It's definitely something that we're not experts in, and something that we know not a whole lot about.
Something we're not experts in is the guy who's married and the guy with a girlfriend.
Well, yeah. Well, I've never had a relationship past 4 months, so like.
And how long is this one?
It's like near 3 months or something. I don't know.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know. Sell by date's coming up.
Did she listen to the podcast?
Hopefully not. I might be taking this girl's advice after this. But as a man who's been on many dates, dating can be hard, right? And I can see after a while, being a bit desperate to find the one, or feeling that like after being on so many dates, you feel like you're going nowhere and you want to find an innovative way of finding Mrs. or Mr. Right, depending on your preference. So this girl came up with this really peculiar way of trying to work on her own imperfections when it comes to dating. Now, there's a guy called Neil Morgan. This happened just in December last year. And he was seeing this girl casually on a few dates. And it didn't really work out. And he was kind of surprised after she sent him an email asking would he mind filling out a survey and to rate his experience in their short relationship. What do you think make of that? Like, how would you feel? Obviously, you're a married man. Like, it must have been incredibly awkward to have to fill this out. Or, I guess, if you chose to fill this out.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, what the fuck is this about?
So he put up on Twitter, I can't believe I slept with this psychopath. So he obviously wasn't too impressed by this. Now, I was nearly certain this must have caught on, or maybe this is the same girl, because I remember listening to the radio of a girl who did this, and people on the radio thought this was a great idea. And I was like, I don't know how much I'd feel. And some of the questions are a little bit weird.
In what way?
Okay, so I guess we'll have to go through a few things. So some of them are quite general. Like there's overall experience. Now, she rates it 1 to 10. 1 being never ever again, and the next being hit me up, baby. Her exact words in the survey. I don't know who talks like that. If someone ever said that to me, I would definitely not hit them up, baby, again. Then the next one was she gets like really personal as well. So there's one going rate the head, and 1 being cheese grater, 10 being fellatio queen, Ken. I guess like if you want to see where your downfalls are in a relationship, if you want to work on it, and people are rating you constantly as a bad at giving head, maybe that's something you need to work on.
Maybe.
But I don't know. Like obviously, this might have come up in previous surveys. Now I don't know. Like obviously, this made not major news. This made news outlets. Imagine his parents came across this or whatever. She calls this kind of an exit survey.
An exit survey.
Like, what do you think as this as an idea of seeing where you are in a relation, how you are in a relationship?
Yeah, like I don't know, like it seems kind of childish.
I don't know if I wouldn't call it childish, but it seems a little bit over the top. It seems like
I'd say it's childish. Like that's something that like a fucking teenager would say. Like, oh, how come you didn't want to see me again? Because you're a cunt. Fuck off.
It could have been that. Oh, well, someone better came along. This is a buyer's market.
She's probably the kind of cunt that is like, he objectifies me. But then she asked him to fill out a fucking survey objectifying her.
Yeah, well, I guess, like, if you've been in, like, relationships where they haven't worked out and you're not too sure where they go, I can understand people wanting to work on, because, like, I know loads of people who are just constantly on dating sites and they're like, oh, I can never find anybody. There's just a load of tire kickers out there. And no one
tire kickers. Nobody wants to buy me.
No one, well, like, exactly. If you look at yourself as a product and see how in demand you are, and sometimes you have to lower your price.
That is true.
That is true. You just need to drop your price, go on sale, and like maybe see it. Like, and I kind of feel like, well, what you like on the, like, what do you do on the, like, what do you say to girls on, or what's on your profile? Like, what pics are you using? And no one, like sometimes
all dick pics.
No, sometimes sometimes the photos are like blurry, or like, and sometimes like they're just using the same, like, hi, how are you, or they're using the same kind of way, and they're not like really looking at like how they're they're actually operating on the app, or how like what the interactions are like. So I can understand like a person being kind of critical of a relationship, going, oh well, what went wrong in that, and trying to figure out where they could have gone better. To the point where you're you go to the time to make an actual survey for people to fill out, like that you might get when you stay in a hotel, and ask you, how attractive do you find me? Like, he's obviously had sex. He's obviously went a few days, so he probably finds it somewhat attractive. And like, I can understand like some of the things is like, whoa, what was I thinking? And then the next one was like, whoa, 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 which is like who talks like? I don't understand if you're trying to make it playful, but you've already crossed a weird barrier where you want to be talking about, you want someone to actually rate their dating experience with you. you did like, don't make it any more weirder by like putting whoa, 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 as in terms of someone is attractive. Like,
I think the thing that the guy who's filling out the survey should have just replied with, the reason we broke up, the reason I don't want to see you again, is because you do shit like this.
Yeah, it's like, you're too fucking intense. You're too simply I've never met the girl. I don't know how he never says how the relationship went. I imagine she's very intense.
I'd say she's a bit of a fucking nut job.
Yeah, like when and a lot of these questions, you're going to be like, either you obviously something went wrong in the relationship and you're just going to rate her bad at everything, no matter what it is, or you don't want to hurt her feelings, and you're like, she's like, how would you rate my personality? Like,
fuck off, that's how.
And like, I don't think you can really like rate a personality on a scale of 1 to 10. Like I said, if she was intense, like I wouldn't put her as an absolute snorefest, or like I wouldn't like. You'd have to almost fill out a comment section and go, well, you're kind of really intense and you're a bit over the top, bit of clean. Yeah, exactly. Whatever his actual experience was with her. But yeah, like, is this the point where people are getting where they're actually making people fill out a survey? Is this like we've come just so used to like PR marketing companies sending out surveys about going to restaurants or hotels or businesses going, let us know your experience. Like, if you have a business, it makes sense to anonymously email customers and say, what did you like about our service we offer? What can we do? Because you can get really good data on that in order to like make your product a better product, make sure what you're offering is what people want. I don't think it necessarily translates in terms of like in a relationship.
Yeah.
Like one of the questions was, did we make love or did we fuck? I was like, you were there. I'd like you. Surely you took part in this exercise. What did you think it was? The next one, yeah, and then she's like, overall experience, hit me up again, baby. Yeah, and obviously never ever again. Most people probably pick never ever again because you seem quite crazy. You've got me to fill out a fucking survey.
You mad bitch.
Yeah, like, yeah, she even she did ask him to objectify him. She's like, she goes, what's my best features? And it's okay to objectify me. Well, I won't be able to tell you what your best feature is if I wasn't able to objectify you. Yeah, no, like, yeah. And she actually even offers the reverse. So she will rate her experience with you if you so wish to want her opinion on how you were in all these departments.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Fuck off.
No, you're fine. It's grand. But yeah, like, I don't know. I have seen some really odd people, and where they're just on dating apps where they're like really like they've hit a wall where they're fed up with the idea of a dating site, and they just want to be out of a relationship. And they're like, I remember one woman, she was like, she put her email address, she created one just for this purpose, where you basically applied to be in a relationship but you only could apply for this relationship if you wanted it to be the one, like this was the real deal,
Intense shit.
Yeah, like, and basically, she puts what she wants, and basically, if you match that criteria, you apply. She picks the best from the litter, and you just go off and live happy.
It's not a puppy, Mark.
Sometimes it's a business, sometimes it's a puppy, Ken. There's a lot of metaphors. But like on the applicant, she run like a business, and I'm like, okay, dating apps are quite like applying for a job or applying for something. You are competing with other people, like whatever. But the idea that where you're kind of like, she wants all the power. She wants you to go to her, and she wants you to apply for this. And so I was like, I don't feel that like I'd work well with a person like that.
What's the maddest experience you've had?
Like generally, like they've been like all okay. Like there's no like really crazy experiences. Like I always feel worse about girls on these things. Like one, you get like girl who'd mess you going, oh, we'll meet up tonight, and then you meet up with them, and then be like on their phone constantly talking about like some lad that they're staying in his apartment with, and I'm like, why did you bother messaging me? And yeah, you kind of get like, other than that, and you could get like, you might go on a few dates with a person and like it doesn't work out, and then they see it in the bar and they nearly jump behind the table, and you're like, I'm not going to come over and start talking to you.
Yeah, you're fine. Fuck off.
You're fine. But like, other than that, like I've had pretty cool people, but I've heard pretty weird, like odd stories from girls about like dates that they've been on, like really like, where I'm like, why did you agree to that? But like, you're very, very lucky that like nothing bad happened to you. Yeah, but like, yeah, like girls have the worst experience on this. I don't feel bad about girls like who do hit a wall, and generally it will be girls that will ask you to fill out a survey or do this, because like they have way worse experience than men. Like a comedian had a joke once about this, and it's like the worst thing that a man fears about going on a date is that like the girl might be a little bit fat. Like she might be a little bit more overweight or a little bit less attractive than what her profile was. A girl's experience, worst fear is, I might die.
Yeah.
I might be killed on this date. So like, men and women have two completely different like apprehensions about a first date.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on. To a woman who dating has definitely passed her, because she's a mum of two, or mam of two, and she got a furious letter off one of her neighbours, demanding that she close her blinds at night because her kids don't, and no one else wants to see her ass. Her name is Alex.
Maybe the kids do.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I was like, oh, well, I've seen the photo. Maybe they do. She's a very attractive lady. Maybe they do. So, like, do you, like, if you have the house to yourself, or even if it's like, obviously it's just you and 18 living there, would you ever walk around your house when you're on your own? Would it naked?
No, not usually.
Yeah, I know some people who would. Some people like the thrill of it as well. I remember people saying,
I wouldn't be in a rush to like fucking like. I might go around and be jocks for a bit, like, but like. Yeah, we wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. Like I personally wouldn't. Like if I middle of the night, I wouldn't put on trousers to go to the toilet. Like that would be it. Like I wouldn't. Generally, I dress. I like as soon as I get up, I put on clothes, and I never wear pajamas. So I always get like I'll wear clothes in the house that I wouldn't wear outside the house.
Yeah, like the most casually I'm dressed is I wear a pair of shorts and t-shirt around the house, and that'd be casual for me. Generally, don't walk around in my boxes, but I know people who do, and generally. Bear in
mind, you did the podcast one time in your boxers, nearly naked, looking out the window at a child.
No, well, just in case the person didn't see that episode, it was a really warm day, and there was a family playing in the garden, and they spotted a naked man talking to himself, looking out at them. They didn't realize I was doing a podcast, and they started staring at me, and then I got paranoid that they thought I was fully naked, staring at them, talking to them through the window or talking to myself, and they brought their kids back inside. Okay? It was just a miscommunication.
It's just a misunderstanding.
It was a miscommunication on both parties' parts. And maybe he still could have seen the headphones and thought, he's a very successful podcaster. He's working from home.
I wouldn't say he's very successful.
Maybe he's a podcaster then.
He's kind of podcaster.
Yeah, so basically she got this letter. This was about, she was on her way to work. I think she's like a car saleswoman. At 8:30, she got no, she spotted on her windscreen. She obviously left it, didn't want to put it in the letterbox. And the note was basically saying that, like, my kids don't want to see your ass, and like we said, maybe they actually do want to see your ass, especially if you have teenage boys.
It doesn't even matter what she looks like.
Yeah, exactly. You could have a bog standard ass. If you're a teenage boy, just like anything will do. You're looking at Peach sometime going, oh Jesus, if that was an ass. Like, hormones are going through the roof. So maybe like, probably if you have teenage boys, probably they do. But then when you go into like what time it was at and all, and like everything else, it gets like, it shouldn't be like her neighbour annoyed. Your own Alex should be like, I'm going to call the police on your kids or on your family or whoever spotted me in my underwear, because this is not acceptable. Because why was her kid looking at her? Because this happened at 10:30 at night. She was wearing a t-shirt and knickers before going to bed, and she was just locking up her door, and she was just locking up the house just before she got into bed, scantily dressed, but like, it's nighttime. It's 10:30 at night. Who'd be looking at you? Kind of, you're probably thinking, why was her neighbour's kids staring in the window at her, or why was she staring in the window at her at night?
You know what the problem probably was?
What?
It was the husband.
I think no. I think women are very competitive, and I imagine.
First thing I think here is it was the husband. She noticed the husband seeing her.
Yeah, well, I think she's seen her herself, and maybe they're around the same age, but your one Alexa,
bet looking.
Yeah, your one Alexa is a size 8, and maybe your one whatever her is definitely not a size 8, or maybe she's size 5. I didn't put that size. She was quite thin anyway, but maybe your one isn't as good looking. Yeah, so maybe she isn't as attractive, and she's seen her in her t-shirt and her underwear, and was like, "What a bitch!" And then it's like, "Wait, why is she walking around her house with blinds up like that? That's not on." And so she's like, she wanted to have the moral high ground on her, saying, you can't walk because I don't want to be seeing you because I don't look like that or something. I think it's definitely like a jealousy thing over, maybe it was her husband that seen her, but even if it was her husband or her kids, it was 10:30 at night. Your kids shouldn't be looking in somebody's window no matter what time it is. Either should you. It's your neighbour's house. Stop staring into the window.
Yeah, I'd say it was more than likely the husband had seen her. The wife was like, why is the husband looking out the window for? Like, oh, he's looking at your one across the road there. Stupid skanky bitch.
Yeah. Your kids shouldn't be like, at 10:30, your kids shouldn't be on the streets. If it was like your kids were out, why are your kids out at 10:30? If it was that you could see her from her house, why?
Also, if your kids are up at this just proves what we were saying. If the kids are still up and awake at 10:30, they're teenagers.
Yeah, exactly. Like literally anything resolving cleavage or assless at that stage. Like, you don't have to be the world's most attractive person and you're just gonna be drooling over people. It's just like hormones are flying everywhere. You don't have to be a lot of control of yourself as a teenager.
Yeah, teenagers are assholes.
I wouldn't say they're assholes. No, they are assholes, actually. That is,
they are assholes.
But like, in terms of like their like all their hormones and their bodies going through this change, like I'm glad I'm not in that stage.
What, not a teenager?
Yeah. So like this is like, no one explains, oh, you're gonna go through a teenager and you're gonna go get random boners for no reason. And you're going to have
I think they do in other countries. I think it's just in Ireland, they're like, nope, you're not doing it.
Yeah, because like we talked about it, Ireland's like very prudish. Like if you ever go somewhere on holidays and you're in a male's changing room, like you'll see the Irish guys will always have the towel wrapped around and they're getting changed. There's no one's allowed to see my penis, and everyone else is like walking around free, don't care about being around naked around other men. It's like it's completely normal. Ireland's like definitely like a towel around, like. No one can see my, because we're taught basically from a young age that our body is a sin and we should be ashamed of it at all times. But anyway, the note was like, what the note said was, it would be much appreciated if you would shut your blinds when walking around naked around your house. My kids do not and would not want to see your ass on show. Much appreciated, your neighbour. So, which is it?
Do want to see it.
Yeah, well, how do you know? And if you have teenage boys, I'm pretty sure they do want to see it.
Yeah, so there you go, you stupid bitch.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, I just like, imagine living beside someone like that. But anyway, her response to the whole thing was she now walks around in her knickers more often than not. And she's like, fuck her. She's not allowed to judge me or control what I do in my own house. So she actually took to actually walking around more often in her nip.
Yeah, actually should.
And yeah, I think that's the only way to like treat a person like that, is to like
do the opposite of what they want you to do.
Yeah, exactly. You can't let someone control you like that. So the next story, and like, it's no surprise where this story came from, and they don't like people believing this about their country, even though it's 100% a fact that it is. Like, it's just evidence everywhere, and this is a story that proves it. So, a 65-year-old man was bitten in a genital area by a python while sitting on his toilet. Ken, take one guess about where this happened.
I'm going to guess it was France.
No.
No, it was definitely Australia.
Definitely 100% Australia. Yeah, so the Australian man had been bitten in the genital area by his neighbour's pet python after the snake escaped through drains and ended up in his toilet. So when your man, who was from Grays, was southern city of Grays. Don't know whereabouts that would be, but I'm sure Australian listeners would.
You'd hope so.
Yeah, it was bitten at 6 a.m. on a Monday morning when he obviously went to take his morning shit, and he lived in an apartment block complex. So, like, you imagine, like, whatever about maybe he lived like near an outback or near a wild area. You can imagine how a snake might get through the drainage system. But in an apartment thing, you imagine it'd be like quite safe from all their deadly spiders that they have and their snakes. I remember like a guy told me in Iceland who was from Australia, he's like, you have to go over your way to get bitten by dangerous animals. Like, there's not that many dangerous snakes or anything like that. It's like people who usually get bitten by snakes are dumb.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, they're everywhere. You live in a dangerous country. Everything can kill you. So they don't genuinely like that stereotype that is...
But even with snakes being everywhere, you still have to go out of your way to get bitten by a snake. Because snakes always warn before they bite.
Yeah, well, yeah. So, like, the snake and pythons aren't actually venomous. So generally kill their prey by strangling them.
Yeah, and they generally... like, constrictors generally won't strike at things that they can't eat.
Well, unless it's threatening them. So, like,
yeah, unless it's threatening them. So, like, to you get bitten by a constrictor, you have to properly be like a fucking threat.
Yeah. So when your man went to sit down on the toilet, he felt a pinch in his genitals. It doesn't say like if it was the sack or if it was like the nuts. Imagine it would be extremely painful if it was the sack. So he jumped to his feet and found a 5-foot python staring back at him. So officers and local reptile experts came to remove the snake from its hiding spot. Meanwhile, your man was treated in hospital for his minor injuries.
At least they're only minor.
Yeah, exactly. At least like, I don't know, maybe if you got bitten on the penis and his penis swelled up, is that a bad thing? Is that a bad thing? My penis is twice size. Is this... we can get medication to take it down, or we could leave it. You know what I'm saying, Doc? It's highly infectious. So, yeah, most of his injuries could have come from maybe an infection that came from the toilet water. So, obviously, they looked out from that. The snake itself, they just had no injuries. They just cleaned it and gave it back, strangely enough, to your man who owned it, the neighbour. Like, surely, if a snake escaped, you don't deserve to have a snake. We're taking this off you, and we're going to bring it to like a reptile sanctuary, and like we're going to ask you not to have another snake, or else we'll fine you.
Yeah, you shouldn't have a pet.
Yeah, you shouldn't have a pet. You've proved that you can't have a pet. Yeah, so like, and your man, the guy who owned it, was 24 years old. I think he had 11 non-venomous snakes and a gecko in his apartment. So I don't know how big this apartment was. He had a specially designed cage and drawers for his reptiles, and was unaware that the thing even escaped, and has no idea like how it would have got out of the cage and the drawers that it was staying in. And I think he might be facing prosecution. Obviously, he'll be like, the owner could obviously sue him for, or that his neighbour could sue him for grievous bodily harm caused by his snake.
I had the first snake I ever had escaped and was out of like its enclosure for about 6 months.
6 months?
Yeah.
Did you not put it back in, or did you not notice that it was gone?
Just couldn't find it.
Just couldn't find it. Where was it when you found it?
It turned up in the sink.
In the sink? Like in the drain?
No, like it came out of the sink. Like the tap was kind of leaking. It came out of the sink looking for water.
Oh, right. And like, how did it eat?
So they don't actually need to, like, snakes only eat like between once a week and once every 2 weeks. So like they can survive for a long time. Like I think it's like a year. Like they can survive about 12 months with no food once they're getting water.
Yeah, my friend used to have 3 pet snakes, and like one was a grass snake, so it's kind of small, but like I just couldn't touch it. Like, that's slimy. I was like, it's definitely gonna bite me. And he's like, oh no, it's non-venomous. And it's like, I don't care. I don't want to be bitten.
They don't feel slimy either.
Yeah, that's scaly, whatever. Feels weird. They had a bigger one.
People always say, oh, snakes are real slimy, but they're not slimy at all.
Scaly, whatever. I picked one up, and yeah, I don't know. It was like, it's just, yeah, whatever way it felt, I just threw it onto the bed. They're like, what? Don't throw the snake. And it's like, it just felt weird.
I was in, me and my friend were in Cyprus for his cousin's wedding. We went on this tour thing of like these old ruins, and the guy doing the tour was like, okay, just don't go into the grass because, you know, there's fucking snakes and shit. So I was like, there's snakes in the grass? Let's go find some snakes.
Yeah. I remember I was in some part of Australia, and it was where old World War like outpost was during World War One, because they thought maybe Australia might be invaded by fuck knows who, Japanese, I guess. And like there's a walk up to it, and like you could hear a lot of like rattles from they're like, oh yeah, just stick to the paths. Generally be fine. They're more scared of you. But yeah, just don't go to the grass, and they'll obviously only bite if they feel threatened. I was like, fuck, they will. Yeah, so you have a story about some possible fake news. So this is our disclaimer, where if this is not true, like, we're not surprised, but we found it somewhere, and like, you have to be like, if this is true, this is a legit story. People involved are worthy of idiots of a week.
Yeah, I don't know how. I just don't think this is true, and we'll get into why I don't think it's true. This woman on TikTok, so she said her name's Chloe Fontaine, and she claims that this group of builders showed up at her house unannounced to renovate her back garden.
Yeah.
So she just let them off. Like, she just let them start work and stuff. She's no idea what they're doing or why they're there, but they're at the wrong house of it.
Yeah.
So she's had loads of videos just like of them doing whatever, doing bits of work around the house on the garden and stuff. And she plans at the end, when they have it all done, to tell them they're at the wrong house and they need to take it all down again. But where I think this is bullshit is, surely the person whose house they were supposed to be at would have rang the building company and been like, oh, where's the guy to fucking do up in the garden?
Yeah, like if you arrange for builders to get work done, you're generally in pretty close contact with them. Like, they arrange a day, what times will be over, what time suits you to be over, what work is getting done, and you kind of brought through the process. So generally, like, you wouldn't just have guys drive up to the door being like, here, we're here to do a bit of landscaping in your garden for you. Like, so that's what doesn't make sense. And like, if a person had planned for their garden to be done and builders hadn't contacted them and it's been a few weeks, they would have been gone, here, what's the story about my garden?
Yeah, where the fuck are the lads?
Yeah, exactly. Why haven't they come over? So, like even if they do, like, she's going to get the bill at the end of it. So, like, I don't know. Did they come with their own plans and all?
Like, that's why it just makes no sense. Like, she just says they showed up to start working away in her garden, but like, she doesn't say that they showed up with plans. She doesn't say that they showed up. Like, they hardly just showed up and randomly start fucking arsing about in your garden. Like, they would have told you, we're here to do this and this is what we're gonna do. And
yeah, like, I can understand like a builder going to the wrong house. But it's not like a pizza delivery thing where you go, oh yeah, I'll take that, and you pay for your pizza, and the person never gets pizza, and you're like,
yeah,
haha, my win. And but like, yeah, and there's gonna be the cost of it as well.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me that.
And like, yeah, and like, even if she turns around and goes, oh well, I didn't ask you to renovate. You let them into your back garden to do all the work. The work is now done. At no point do you came out and stopped them. You're going to have to pay for that. Like, she isn't going to be able to go, well, I didn't actually ask you to do any work at the house.
She says that she will pay for it.
All right, so she isn't trying to be like, oh yeah, go ahead there, lads. Yeah, work away there and go, well, I didn't actually order you to do that, so that's on you.
Yeah, she said she will pay for it, but like, she's going to wait until they have the work all done before she says anything about it.
Oh, it is kind of a dicky thing to do.
It's completely a dicky thing to do.
Yeah. I imagine, yeah, and plus, like, generally you get a quote of how much it's going to cost, and the builders, well, sometimes the builders will, in order to get the job, they'll quote low and go, oh, well, this went wrong, this is going to be wrong. If I was a builder and somebody did that, I'd be like, you're getting a really high quote. Because that's a fucking... Now I have to get in touch with a person and explain to them why I was this late doing their garden and there's other projects I have to be done. Because like, generally they'll schedule a bit of work in advance. So one job will lead into another job. So like, by the time they finish their garden, they'll probably start somewhere else. So like, try to fit another job that they're meant to already have done back into their schedule is going to be such a pain in the hole. I'd be like, just for that hassle, you're getting a fucking horrendous crow. And the work's done, so you're going to have to pay for it.
Yeah, I just think it's a dickheady thing to do, and I don't think it's real either.
Yeah.
Because I don't see that really happening.
No, just generally, if you do get any work done, there'll be a guy around Monday kind of a thing. I'll send lads around Monday at this time because you want to make sure that the person going to be there to let them into the house, let them into the back garden. So you're going to have to prior arrange. So you're not just going to randomly show up to do building work at someone's house and just like hope that the person's there. So I'm pretty sure if work was getting done and at 9 o'clock no one came, there'll be a call pretty quickly went into the builder going, what the fuck, your lads never showed today? Or where were you?
That was when I first read this, that was my first kind of thought was somebody definitely would have rang up and been like, where the fuck is the cunt to do with my fucking garden?
Yeah, it seems like quite a sort, and the fact that it's coming from her, not necessarily like how easily a builder who is doing your garden could see that story, or one of the lads see that story, and be like, "That looks like the garden I'm doing."
Yeah, exactly.
What's the story here?
And she's like, no, it's somebody else.
Yeah, so like, if it is, she's not idiot of the week. She's a cunt of a week. She is a new title of a person.
World's first.
The Shite Talks cunt of the week. Which leads us into our legends of the week. This is a award that we give out to people who go above and beyond and do something incredibly sound or amazing that they deserve the title Legend of the Week. Last few weeks we had a person who was being robbed and a guy who caught a ball and not spilled beer. We set the bar pretty low, but this guy I think will definitely have earned the title Legend of the Week. He's a barman, so in Ireland bars are allowed to have customers in the building, so you have to stay outside. And this happened last week when an almighty downpour ascended Dublin, and like it just was teeming down with rain. Really, I was driving home, or I was driving to Dublin, and there was 2 or 3 inches of water on the road, and my car. Thank God for traction control, because I could feel my car just kind of kick. And as I was looking at the barrier, it was horrendous to be outside. And there was a guy who was at the pub at the time, and he decided to call it a night and go home when the heavens had opened. He was in a mobility scooter as well.
Oh, of course he was.
So a guy called Frankie, who works at Pines Cafe and Bar in Dublin, picked up a umbrella from a table and escorted the customer all the way home so he wouldn't get wet.
The whole way home?
Yeah, well, I don't know. He might. I imagine he's like a local. He's a regular into the bar.
I wouldn't be at that crack.
That's why you're not a bartender.
There was a girl in work. There's this owl lad that comes into the shop. I don't know if he's an alcoholic, maybe.
Yeah.
But I remember he came in absolutely buckled drunk one time trying to buy a drink, and we were like, look, we can't serve you because you're drunk. And he was like, oh, right. And he was kind of like fucked. And one of the girls in work walked him home and stayed with him until like somebody came to make sure he didn't die.
Oh, that's cool. That's really nice of her. Yeah, that would sound like. Do you have any kind of cool bartenders? Because I think Ireland generally have really, really nice bar staff. I remember there was like obviously. I remember when I was 18 and when I was first starting to drink, there was like one bartender. He used to rip the absolute piss out of me and my friend for going there because it was kind of an old man's bar. So we were like 40 years younger than most people in the bar. But our friend used to work there, so we used to just go in there and have the chats. But he used to always make us say please and thank you. It's like before we while we were, and he goes, can I have a pint of Guinness? He goes, can I have a pint of Guinness, please? He goes, but like we definitely do have like they definitely do go out of the way. Like I've told the story about when I was in New York, 2 Irish bartenders who lived in New York. It was an Irish bar, gave us free pints if we stayed and watched a penalty shootout between Chelsea and some other team. And like because we were on our way home, we watched the Six Nations, and he bought the Six Nations for me. I was in New York and I wanted to watch Ireland versus Italy, and like literally little tiny screen. I didn't care, but I was like, I got to see the match, and everyone else watching football looking over. What's the fucking story with that? That's a weird game. I was like, it's very interesting than that shite. Yeah, so that was quite nice. And another kind of, do you have any kind of stories?
Like, not really. Like, I used to get free shit off barmen.
Yeah. I always feel like if you build a rapport, anyone in that kind of line of work, like bar or kind of cafe kind of thing, they do generally every now and again will give you like a free pint. That's always a kind of tip, because like obviously tip, like to actually tip kind of people in your local bar, because isn't a culture in Ireland or in the rest of the world. It's kind of only a US thing, and I was actually watching a story on it. Now, if you go work in a bar in Ireland, you'll get paid a regular wage. You'll get paid 11, 12 quid an hour for working there. But in America, they expect that. There's a tipping culture. So they only pay you maybe $2-3 an hour, because they know it'll make the rest off tipping. The people will be tipping, like everybody comes in there. So you'll actually end up with a pretty good wage at the end of the night. So that's why tipping's very heavily enforced in America. Yep. Whereas like for Europeans and rest of the world, we're like, pay your staff a fucking proper wage, and if they get a tip for to do the job, fair enough, let them keep it.
I think that's the way the Americans think about it, is to ensure like really good service.
But look at it, like that doesn't ensure. Like look at Ireland, we're walking customers home or making sure they're all right. We get pretty good service in like that's bullshit. I think that's an excuse. If you're bad at your job, you'll get complaints, and people will either not go there, or you'll get fired, and then you'll get staff that'll do their job right. Like, that's bullshit. That's just, yeah. I don't buy that as an excuse for not. And like in Ireland, there's problems where one, government wants to start taxing people on their tips. They're trying to catch people that aren't declaring their tips as an income, and sometimes people who don't get tipped are basically put into a pile and shared out between everybody, and the owners will actually also take some of the tip as well, which I thought was like a bit of a fuck you. Whatever about, see, the service charge are for runners. This is what I've learned recently. The service charge you get charged is actually the runners who pay plates. The chefs get paid a higher wage, and then if you want to leave a tip for the waiters, obviously that goes to the waiters. So they're all kind of, they work into the pricing of the restaurant that people get paid for doing their job. That no one gets kind of left behind. Service charge goes to the runners, tips go to the waiters.
Chefs always get paid okay.
Yeah, it's a cunt of a job. You're working in a very high pressured situation where there's a lot of people. There's a lot of like, if something goes wrong, if someone messes up something, it could ruin the entire meal, and you have to start over again. And you're doing 20 meals at once, and you're on a huge time strain, and generally it's either nothing or really loads of people are in the restaurant. Generally come in waves. So imagine working in that kind of environment. Generally they're all bad tempered, and you're being called a stupid cunt or a tick fuck. And like, it's just it's a pressure cooker, and if you can't stand the heat, you don't work in the kitchen. But yeah. Literally, you just, it's not the career path for you. I don't agree with that in terms of like for tipping culture, and obviously it's in America. I don't think it's ever going to change. I think they should pay a fair wage and then encourage tipping anyway, because it's a nice thing to do. But generally, if you are local in a bar, it's always nice to build up a rapport, even Ireland, because generally you might get free shit. I know loads of people who get to know people in cafes and bars, and they always get free pints and free coffees and free everything. They're like, Jesus, yeah. It's just been talking. I'm so socially awkward when it comes to anything like that I just don't talk to people. I don't. I got coffee, pay, and I'm gone. Like people who go in there and, all right, hey Mick, how's it going? How are things? Are you still playing that game, or what? They know everything about? They know something about their life that they chat with, and like, how did you get to that point with them?
Yeah, I've always thought that's weird. Like, there's customers in work that are like that. And you're like, how did this happen?
Yeah, how do you? Yeah, there's a guy who where I work in one of the contracts. He keeps coming up talking to me about Kildare. And I like at several points I told him I'm not actually from Kildare. I was like, he starts talking about, oh, Kildare are doing really well, or there's a program called Ireland's Fittest Families, and generally there's none. Kildare doesn't have a whole lot to go on. We don't have like a great team as such. We're not good at GAA. There's no soccer teams that do really well. The rugby team, the rugby's in Leinster. Like there's no big. Has nothing going for it in terms of sports. So the best we could ever have hoped for was there was a family from Kildare on Ireland's Fittest Family, and he got to the finals, and he came up and he started talking about that, and I'm like, I'm actually not from Kildare. I don't follow anything in Kildare, and I don't follow GAA. And he came up to me the other day and he's like, oh, Kildare are doing well. And I was like, well, they don't have 6 All-Irelands. And he goes, oh, are you not from Kildare? And it's like every time we have the same conversation. How would you know? And my next week he's going to mention Kildare.
You should record it.
I was like, yeah, they don't have 6 All-Irelands, do they? And they're like, oh, it's a dub. He's so Dublin. And he stopped talking. Then he goes, where is he from? The guy who I worked with, and your man is actually from Kildare. And then he started chatting away to him, and he finds out that he's actually living in Newcastle. He's not even really from Kildare. But he's like, I was like, because like the way he went on, you imagine he's born and bred in like Prosperous or like Newbridge or Naas or like even Kilteal, like somewhere. No, lives in Newcastle. This is in Dublin. Like, what's fucking wrong with you? So maybe it's just that like anyone who tries to get to know me in work, I just get annoyed at them. So I generally take that's how everyone is in life, and I just get in there, get out. Even like when I'm getting my hair cut, I barely talk to them. I was like, I want this done, and I stare at my feet.
Oh, so you're one of those grumpy people.
Oh no, I'm not grumpy. Like I'm not a great, like for a person who has a podcast, I'm not a great conversationalist. Outside the fact that I have a podcast, I find it very hard to make conversation in the actual public. So I'm just kind of like, oh, yeah, cool, cheers. Like someone makes a conversation, attempts to talk to me, I'll talk back.
Yeah, I hate talking to people.
Yeah, so like, but maybe we should, because maybe you get perks, like free stuff. Because anybody I know that actually takes that effort to get to know people, they seem to get like every now and then they go, yeah, I get a free coffee, or I get free like something. Like, oh, it does pay off.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Or maybe he'll walk you home when it's pissing rain and take an umbrella so you don't get wet if you're a thing. Or make sure. I remember one time I was in a taxi rank in Selbridge, and a barman carried one of his customers in, ordered him a taxi, waited with him until the taxi came, and when asked, when someone said, oh, that's very nice of you, he goes, well, I got him into this mess, I should at least make sure he gets home all right. Which just proves Ireland has the nicest bar staff in the world. And I think that's what we're going to end on. Usually we end on a bad note. I think that's a nice way to end the podcast.
Bar staff are sound.
Yeah, in Ireland. They made them more.
Staff, if anybody out there listening is a barman in Ireland, let us know where you're a barman and where we can get a free pint.
Give us free shit, yeah. Maybe next time we go into a bar, there will be a bar person who'll spot us and go, oh, that's very nice. I actually agree. We are the best in the world. And we're like,
yeah,
yes,
you are. You want a pint?
Yeah, exactly. But we're going to have to leave it there. And we'll be back with our 200th show, 4 away from our big one. We don't have anything planned for the 200 because, like, fuck it.
We'll just wing it.
Maybe we'll just make a lot more fake news.
Yeah, maybe we'll just do everything on it. Will just be fake news.
Yeah, we're just going to make up stories and libel people for our 200 show. Yeah. We might even make it 204.
Other people do.
Yeah, allegedly.
Shut up and sit down.